What is going on, guys? It's Joe from Petty Fixes, back again with another video for y'all. So today we're going to talk about something a little different. I'm going to step out of my element and I'm going to bring you guys back to the core of my love, and that's mobile technology. Now in the mobile world, there's a lot of things going on. There's tons of advancements every year, but one thing stays consistent, and that's issues. So today we're going to talk about my 5 likes, my 5 dislikes of the Android community. Let's go. So to start off this segment, I'm going to talk about the 5 likes first, and I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. So beginning with number 5, the thing I like the most about Android, number 5 anyways, will have to be the customizability. Now Android's always been a very flexible platform since its first inception, all the way from Cupcake. You know, I've had the first Android phone, the G1, the HTC G1. Now I love that phone. It was actually one of my favorite Android devices to this day. The thing about Android is it offers so much flexibility. There's so many things you can do to customize the launchers, the wallpapers, the icons, even the theme of your phone. With other phones, you can't do that. There's absolutely no way to do that. iPhone. Now, the other thing about Android customizability is the flexibility to use whatever you want to use. Now, there's millions of devices out there that run Android, and you know, a lot of people stick to the bigger names, but even the lower names, you know, the lower tier devices offer the same level of flexibility as, you know, the higher ends, the Samsungs, the LGs, the HTCs, you know, things like that. So for my number 5, that will have to be the thing I like the most about Android, the flexibility and customizability of Android. Let's move on to number 4. So the number 4 thing I like about Android the most is the number of devices that Android runs on. Now, this isn't like, you know, something like Windows Phone or, you know, what Apple has going on with their iPhone, where they release like 2-3 phones a year, something like that. You know, Apple releases 2-3 phones a year maybe, and you know, they all look the same. You only have one choice of a phone, what it's going to look like. You know, you got to rock with that for the rest of the year or 2 years, or however long your contract is if you decide to buy it on contract. With Android, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of devices out there, all different shapes, all different colors, all kind of manufacturers. Everybody has their own take on what Android should look like, you know, and the device that it goes in. So for me, myself personally, I've been, you know, rocking LG devices for the last few years, mainly for the simple fact that I like what LG's doing. Their skin on their interface isn't too heavy, and I like the overall quality of what you get with an LG phone. Personally, that's just me. You know, you got some out there who prefer Samsung, some who prefer HTC. You know, everybody has their dying loyalties to a particular brand, but with Android, you can get that flexibility that you can't find on any other platform out there. So that's my number 4 thing that I like about Android. Alright, now let's jump into number 3 on this list. Number 3 is going to have to be the software. Now, I did talk about the customizability and the flexibility of Android, you know, at number 5. But number 3 is a little different, because without Android itself at its core, you wouldn't be able to have that flexibility. Android's been going through iterations from Cupcake all the way to Oreo, 2 point whatever, all the way up to 8.0. Now, through the years, Android has evolved. Its software has become a lot more refined. They've added a lot of things, you know, that other manufacturers or other OS people, Apple again, other people don't add, you know, and they won't have them for years. Apple's lagged behind for years in particular departments that Android's been having since its inception, since the beginning. So with that said, Android itself is becoming more fluid. It's becoming more flexible, even more flexible. Android is actually listening to people. Google's actually listening to people's comments and their requests. And they're adding these features that, say for example, Samsung might have a feature in their phone that's not native to stock Android, that's added in. Well, Google will work with Samsung to actually add that feature in. And you know, from that point on, it's just there. For example, split screen. Split screen was not native to Android for years. And you know, even with the advent of big phones, you know, they came out with the Nexus 6. I remember that phone. I always wish that phone had a split screen feature, but it never did. They can never even get it to work on there. So, you know, Google's always listening to its people, and they always want to add extra stuff in there. Even like things, you know, in the lower level APIs and stuff like that. Google definitely listens to their customers and what their customers want. So with that said, number 3 on this list is going to have to be the actual Android software itself. Okay, so now we're down to my 2 favorite things that I like about Android the most. Number 2 is going to have to be the community as a whole. Android has a fiercely loyal community. As somebody who's been around Android from the beginning and has held prototype devices and stuff like that, I'm always looking for the newest stuff to come out. And when I get my hands on one of these things, you know, I'm always excited. I mean, I'm like a little kid in the candy store. But you have other people that just ain't in the know. So when something comes out, they always take to a forum to talk about it or find out about it and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you go to certain forums or certain communities and you're gonna have the trolls, they like to talk crazy and stuff like that. But on the most part, for the most part, Android itself and the Android community itself is very, very helpful. Forums like XDA developers, for example. I've went there since the beginning, always to, have help with, certain issues I'm having with my phone or just for general conversation, because it's a community where you can just talk to people, And the community, they're always helpful. They always have good insights on things. They always have great discussions, topics that you just wouldn't be able to talk about with just anybody. So for number 2 on this list, I'm definitely going to have to go with community. Alright, so we're down to the final one. Now, I'm pretty sure you all know what's coming, because number 1 on this list is rooting and modding. This is not something that I ever knew about Android, when I first got a phone. I only found out about rooting because a guy hit me up, and we talked for quite some time. This guy actually is one of my good friends now. We talked for quite some time, but then he offered a service, on Craigslist for rooting and modding your phones. I didn't know what rooting was. We talked about it. He rooted my G1, my HTC G1 that I had, and opened up the whole entire software for me in a whole new world of possibilities when it came down to owning a phone and rooting the phone. Now, if you don't know what rooting is, there's tons of information online. I will go to XDA developers, their website, and they have a really, really big guide on what rooting is, what it does, does it void your warranty? Obviously it does, but rooting definitely is one of those things in the Android community that's hardcore, and people are fiercely loyal to trying to get root to these phones. Getting root access to your phones allows you to customize your phone to its fullest extent, flash custom ROMs. Sometimes you can enable carrier things or things that carriers have actually disabled. Like for example, when I was with Verizon actually disabled the tethering feature. Well, you can go back in and re-enable that and get free tethering, because I had unlimited data at the time. And you get free tethering and just wear that data out. I'm talking about wear it out, as much as you want to. So it was one of those things, where it's kind of dicey. You don't want to avoid your warranty, but at the same time, you're just like, man, I gotta have some of these extra features. I want to tinker with my phone, flash custom ROMs, flash custom themes, things like that. So definitely, I'm pretty sure most of y'all can agree that rooting is definitely number 1 on this list. Okay, so with every good thing comes the bad. Now, some of these are going to be kind of contradictory, man, because I talked about them, in my top 5s, but we're going to come back down to it. So let's go ahead and get started with this list. Number 5 on this list is going to have to be the community. The community can get pretty bad sometimes. Although I love the community as a whole, the community can be really, really shady sometimes. There are people out there who, they want to do things for you, they want to help you out, and, they generally try. But then you have a guy or people or a group that are coming to a forum or a community of some sorts, and they just have to be the bad apple. They want to talk crazy, they want to troll, they want to do things and just get the whole community out of whack. These are the kind of people that we don't need. It's not cool at all. Now, you have your Android purists, and then you have your iPhone people. iPhone people like to bash what Google hasn't done. Google people like to do bash what Apple hasn't done. Let's not do all that. Let's just work in harmony, get these devices better, get the software better, figure out what we can do as a whole in the community to help each other out. But that's arguably number 5 on my list of the things I do not like about Android in this community. Alright, so number 4 on this list. Some of y'all ain't gonna like this one because I'm fiercely loyal to this particular subject, but at the same time, man, you gotta admit it's false. Number 4 on this list is the Nexus Pixel program. Now, it's gonna be some people who are like, man, don't even do it. But I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna bring out a side of me y'all don't often see. The Nexus Pixel program has lately been a joke. It really has. In its inception, Google started the Nexus program with intentions on bringing high-powered devices to the masses that were exclusive to Google, that were not under any carrier restrictions. You could buy these phones, and you can get these phones, and you can get timely updates. As soon as Google releases the update, it's ready to go. That's what I do like about the Nexus program. But at the same time, the Nexus program was meant to be a way for developers to get their hands on devices and tinker and do things, and for you to be able to get a high-power phone at an affordable price. Well, over the years, these affordable prices have turned into $800 phones. That's ridiculous. Then on top of that, Google scrapped the Nexus program, just totally scrapped the Nexus program, and went straight into the Pixel program. The Nexus 6P was arguably one of the best phones out there at the time, and they scrapped it and went to the Pixel. They definitely took some steps backwards when it came to hardware with the Pixel. For me personally, I didn't buy the Pixel, and I'm not going to buy a Pixel 2. I don't want one. Google made the assumption that people would just seamlessly transfer over from the Nexus line to the Pixel line. And when they introduced the Pixel line, that's when prices got extremely outrageous. It was ridiculous. And on top of that, the Pixel 2 right now is having so many issues. You know, it don't even deserve the honor of being a Google device. It's ridiculous. Screen burn-in, failing speakers, charger ports going out, quality control issues just all around the phone. And, you know, people are returning this phone left and right, and it's just not right. So with that said, you know, the Nexus program / Pixel program has been sort of a joke, kind of a running joke all year, really, because we were expecting so much greatness coming from the phone. And while the Pixel phone itself is not a bad phone, it's a bad phone, you know. So with that said, that's gonna have to be my thoughts on this one. All right, so with that said, don't flame me for that last section, please. Don't do it. But with that said, let's jump into number 3. Number 3 on this list is gonna have to be manufacturer skins. Okay, it's not that hard, guys, to know what I'm talking about right here. Now, the manufacturer skins on this, you know, this list I'm about to put up is gonna be pretty crazy. You have companies like Xiaomi, you have companies like Samsung, LG, HTC. You know, these companies right here are big name companies all around the world. You know, Huawei is another one. You know, they all put skins over Android. Why? I understand that you want to add functionality, you know, and stuff like that to your individual phones to make your individual phone stand out. But when it comes down to it, Android as a whole, in its base form, in its stock form, is the best version of Android. Samsung, at one point with their TouchWiz skin, used to skin the phone so hard, within the same week of you purchasing the phone, it's lag city. Same with LG and same with HTC. HTC Sense software was a joke. You know, I mean, to me, I never liked their Sense software. But over the years, their software has gotten better and better and better. It's actually started to look a little bit more like stock Android. Good job, HTC, on that one. Samsung, they still offer that extremely heavy skin, even though theirs have gotten better over the years. You know, I don't even know what theirs is called anymore because I haven't owned a Samsung phone in some time. But the same with LG. LG used to have a heavy skin on theirs. You know, but it's gotten better over time. From my time of owning a G2, a G3, a G4, a LG V10, a G5, and now V30, the phones have gotten better and better, and you can definitely tell that, you know, the power in these phones are helping the software keep up. But adding extra stuff, you know, just bogs the phone down. It's not cool sometimes, and some of the stuff is completely unnecessary. So with that said, that's my number 3 on this list, is the hardware skins or the manufacturer skins that these phones have on them. Alright, so we're down to the final 2, guys. Number 2 is going to be the devaluation of Android hardware throughout the year. Okay, so this one I'll have to explain a little bit. This is going to be a good example because I'm going to use LG as an example for this one. LG devices. The LG G6 just came out earlier this year, you know. Earlier this year, you would think that a high-powered phone, something powered by a Snapdragon 835, 4 gigs of RAM, you know, typical run-of-the-mill flagship phones out there, you know, great camera software and stuff like that. You would think that these phones are going to hold their value well into the end of the year. But stop, pump your brakes, because this is what's going to trip you out. The LG G6, when it was announced, was an $800 phone. Guess how much it's valued at now? Brand new. You can buy them brand new. $400 max. And this is like on Amazon. This is on eBay. Big retailers and stuff like that. Even the carriers are cutting this phone in half. The price is in half of this phone. And you know, you can go pick up a V20, a high-powered phone right now. It's about $250. You know, that's insane. That's crazy. LG phones have devalued so much over the years, and they devalue so quick. You know, it's crazy. While on the other side, on the flip side, you can go buy an Apple phone. You can still sell iPhone 6 Pluses for $300. Apple phones hold their value so incredibly well. Why can't Android phones hold their value so incredibly well? You know, I can go and buy a Samsung Galaxy S8 right now for roughly about $450. It's insane that Android prices, the prices on these phones can decrease in such a short time. You know, and there's other factors behind that, because I know that most manufacturers, they do release, you know, multiple phones a year, which devalues the previous phone that they released and stuff like that. I get that, but come on, like seriously. I know people don't want to pay for a high price phone only to have that phone that you just paid for 2-3 months ago drop $300. You know, Essential phone is a good example, because that was a $700 phone, almost $800 phone when it came out. Now it's down to $450 here in the United States. That's crazy. That phone came out roughly about 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago or so. So that's gonna be number 2 on this list, because that's crazy. Y'all gotta admit that one. Y'all gotta admit that one. We're down to number 1, guys, and I haven't even mentioned this one yet, so I'm pretty sure y'all know what it is. Number 1 on my Android dislikes: software updates. Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, so Android has notoriously been, abysmal when it comes to software updates. Yes, the Nexus, Google Pixel line are always going to get the software updates first, the day that they drop. That's just the way that works. Google themselves actually have control over all that stuff. But you actually have some of these devices that are on carriers. You know, the carriers sell them. So Google has to send it to the carrier and then wait for the carrier to be like, okay, yeah, this is fine. You know, everything checks out good. Let's go ahead and send it over to the manufacturers, you know, so they can finish everything up. Send it back to the carrier again, and then send it back to the customer, you know, so they can have their software update. That's how these things work. But, you know, sometimes these manufacturers, these companies are promised, oh, you got the V30, or you got the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. You know, what's going to happen is you're going to receive this Android Oreo update sometime in the second half of, or the first half of 2018, for example. You know, okay, so Oreo's been out for a little bit now, and I understand that you got to throw your skin on top of that, which is why I say I don't like skins much. But you got to throw your skin on top of that. You got to customize it to your heart's content. Then you got to send it over to the carrier. Have the carrier be like, oh no, change this. We don't like that. They send it back to you so you can tweak some stuff. And then you send it back. You know, this can be a back and forth game. And our Oreo update, or whatever update we're supposed to get in the first half of 2018, is now delayed, or we just may not ever get it. I've had phones where we were promised updates and they never came. They never came. I still have a phone back here right now that never got its update. So it's incredibly crazy how Android updates work. You know, having a Google Pixel or Nexus phone, you know, from the previous line is definitely a surefire way to get your updates when you want your updates. But being on a carrier and being at the carrier's whim as to when you're going to get your updates, that's crazy. You know who doesn't have this problem? Apple. And I'm not an Apple fan, but Apple has their updates streamlined to a T. It's crazy how Apple has these carriers at their control, and Apple's not at the carrier's control. So with that said, guys, that's my number 1 on this list. Well, there you have it, guys. Now, I know I talked a little bit, not a little bit, a lot, about, you know, some of the things I do and don't like about Android and its community and its ecosystem, but that's just a different video for me today. I'm not used to doing things like that. So with that said, I hope you guys like what you saw today. If you like what you saw, drop me a like on this video right now. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because I got a lot more videos like this coming. And if you like the format of this video and the way it was done, let me know, because I could do a lot more videos like this, because I have a lot to talk about. With that said, guys, this is Joe from Petty Fixes. See y'all in the next one.